So ended up taking no trades today for a few reasons. I'm gonna go over all my confluences that I was looking at today, and also news. So we'll actually start off with news today, which was super high impact. Today we had CPI and unemployment. At the same time, CPI and unemployment is going to do one of two things. Generally, it forms a larger candle than what we had at 8:30, which is this candle. But also, it makes the market very static, right? We're not going to move very much. And that was not the only case. Also, yesterday's price action, as we can see, we just went straight the fuck up. So when we have a drastic move like this throughout most of the day yesterday, it's going to be hard for the price action the next day to be relatively good. So that was exactly what happened. We're probably going to stay pretty static. I feel like we're not going to fill any more than 50% of this imbalance in today. I know price is probably going to be generally very static today. But we can see that on the 5-minute especially. No fair value gaps being made, no real imbalances, no real direction really. I figured we were going to generally be shorter. We're going to be generally bearish, which has happened to be the case. But there was like no confluences, or really isn't one very smooth direction the market's going to. But I'm going to go over everything I wanted to see. So really coming into market, I wanted to see price continue to be bearish. Again, we saw with it, but I figured right around 9:30 once we got to this point when we were in such a tight range. I understand price doesn't move quite as smooth pre-market as into market open, but I figured with this price, with this zone being so tight and we're just not moving, that we weren't going to really do much today, and that's exactly what happened. Ended up being the case. So 5-minute time frame, really was keeping an eye on a few things here. One was, I don't have my magnet on, so I don't even know what I'm doing. One was this bullish order block here that we formed a breaker on. This was basically the biggest confluence I could find, honestly, was this, that we ended up closing below and then shot right back up, which is obviously we had a decent move out of it. Obviously, we closed well below it and then also had a pretty good run down. But this was the move right here, before the macro. We see we had a closure below it. I'm like, okay, let's see continuation. And then we just ripped straight back up. So obviously, it ended up being an all right breaker block. But again, when we're chopping within it for such a long time, and it takes such a long time to break out of it, usually I stop caring about the breaker block. On the high time frames, however, we took out London session lows. With how bad I wanted to see a reversal off it, and again, we had this really nice bullish order block here as well. I figured we weren't going to get it just because we have, again, all this imbalance. I mean, look at the size of this hourly fair value gap we have here. When there's an imbalance this large below it, I really doubt that we're gonna go up, right? We're gonna continue to go up. So with this big of an imbalance, I'm pretty sure we're going to partially fill this in today. Now, I don't think today with the volume that's in the market, that we're gonna even come close to filling all this in today. I feel we're gonna definitely stay at most. We're gonna fill 50% of this at most, but I mean, we might not even get to that point with how price action is looking right now. But again, we took out these. I wanted to see continuation, which is going to be bearish. And I knew a reversal just wasn't going to happen. But we are generating a ton of liquidity up here. We have these relative equal highs, which look really nice. We have London session highs. We have New York session high, or these highs, which are probably going to stay. So we're going to be looking for a lot of taking this liquidity out, probably moving back down. But these are going to be some key draws of liquidity coming into tomorrow, I'm sure. But tomorrow, again, we have a lot of news. We have PPI, and then we also have high impact news at 10 a.m. also tomorrow. So going to be hard to trade tomorrow with all that news. I know with PPI and CPI, I usually set out, and this is exactly why. There have been a few days where I've gotten caught in some very bad price action. With these days, which they relatively have decent setups, which we had probably a B- setup today. But then again, we see you're going to stay in the trade for a long time. It's not going to be good price action. Your emotions are going to get caught up in it. So CPI and PPI are usually days that I choose to sit out. ES, again, more or less the same story. Honestly, with slightly shittier price action, I have to say. Again, was looking at more or less the same 5-minute order block right here. And you could go up to the 15-minute, honestly, and find the same one here. We had on the 15-minute, however, I was looking more over here. in London session, but again, there just really wasn't much here. I mean, there's no clear order blocks. There's no smooth looking ones. The only one we have was right here in London session, this 15-minute one that we ended up getting closure and a decent move out of. But again, this was at market open. You see this big wick here on the 15-minute, and that is because we get closure below it and then we rip right back up. So it's hard to take a trade off of that again. Didn't miss out on much today. So it's one of those days that it's really shitty price action. Really haven't had that many opportunities to take trades, honestly. Yesterday I did end up taking a trade. I did not make a video on it, so I'll go over that. It was actually on the mini ES, which I seem to like more, and this is exactly what happened. So gonna go over it. So bias was right. Take profit area was good. Just got caught up in really shitty price action. So coming into market open, bias was bearish. We just took out London session highs. So other confluences. Big one was taking out these highs, and then we inversed a fair value gap. So we'll scale down to the 1 minute. This was the big confluence I had here. Was this inverse fair value gap, which I should have entered right here and would have not been stopped out simply with my stop loss ended up being at these highs. So I would have been able to stay in the trade for a long time. But because I waited so long to enter, just really unfortunate. And you can see on the 1 minute especially, this ended up just being really shitty price action I got stuck into. Bias was right for the most part. Obviously, we know with Trump's tariffs news, it was very different. But in general, the bias was right. Take profit area was in a good spot. I just got caught in some really unfortunate price action. So it is what it is. That ended up being only like $100, less than $100 loss because I ended up slamming my stop loss down to, I don't know, it must have been somewhere down here, honestly, just because we were ripping up back and forth. Once we ended up, I think it was right around here, once we started at least making some progress down there, that I ended up slamming my stop loss down and was like, if price reverses again, then it reverses again. So, wanted to see a little bit more momentum. Obviously, I waited a little bit longer. We ended up getting a market structure shift, which I want to wait. I usually don't wait on just a 1 minute inverse for value gap. I want to see something more, market structure shift. But again, it is what it is. Bias was overall right. Had a good take profit area. It was just unfortunate. So it ended up being like $100 loss. But that was the only trade I've taken in a while. Just with price action not being the best, deliveries not being the best. So it is what it is.